With tremendous excitement, we're about to finish Maseches Kiddushin today. So first of all, let's start Be'ezras Hashem, the Gemara. We should start and hopefully finish the Gemara in at the end of Kiddushin, the last page. We'll leave a few words for the shiurim to be taking place on Thursday, Be'ezras Hashem, because we have many halachic issues which were not resolved in the Halachos of Yichud. So when we finish the Gemara, we'll start doing Hilchos Yichud from the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, yeah, and we'll see very nicely how things connect between the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch. Can you? Yeah, okay, weiter. Let's continue. Tonu Rabbanon. Yeah. So says the Holy Gemara. Says the Holy Gemara. Tonu Rabbanon. Kol Shasokov. Please mute the microphone. Thank you. Yeah. Says the Gemara, whoever a person whose business, which means his profession has to do with women. He needs the women for his money, and they need him for their needs, for their technical needs. Suroi ra. Such a person, suroi ra. What does it mean, suroi ra? Lasur to someone means, Rashi says, kirvosero lishtadel imo she'esar elu v'bolo beisoi. Lasur is to divert, to go towards, to incline. If I walk somewhere and I'm sar min haderech, means I walk sideways, I incline. Yeah, I go to the side. Please mute the video and the audio. Thank you. Please mute. Thank you. So, kosha sokov imanoshim surira kigoin. Who are those people? It means don't befriend. Yeah, it's better not to befriend people who are all the time with women, and the women need them. Although this is not something intrinsically lo tzanua. He's not touching women or something officially, but because he is around women all the time, his sensitivity is not as sharp. And also women tend to like him too much because they need him and they tend to like him, and he's more likely to do dvar avera. What did it mean in the Mishnah? With some machlokes Rashi Tosfos. Before we continue, what does it mean practically? What does it mean he's not a good guy? What does it mean? Rashi said that normally a woman is allowed to have yichud with two kosher men, right? And a man, yeah, he's not allowed to have yichud with two women. What about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 women with one man? According to Rashi, it's okay. Says Rashi, if the person is, let's say, a cosmetics salesman, such a person, a women's guy, such a man, even 3 or 4 women he shouldn't be with. Yeah, so you have 3 or 4 women by the male shetelmacher, let's say. So he is, there is such a thing on apparently I heard. So they shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be there because he's too used to the women, and therefore even many women. That's Rashi. Tosfos argues. All I'm telling you is preparation for the halacha. Tosfos said in the Mishnah, no, one man with many women is not allowed anyways. So what's the chumrah? What's the extra chumrah of a sokovim anoshim? Says the Tosfos. Remember, we saw in the Mishnah, even if his wife is with him, it's also wow, it's a big chumrah, like a goy. Yeah, if your wife has some dealing with a guy, a doctor, or someone, even if his wife is around in and out, still also. So too, the guy who deals with women, even if his own wife is there, he shouldn't be beyichud with other women. That's a chumrah. According to the Rambam, there is no chumrah. We're going to discuss the Rambam later. According to the Rambam, okay, I'll tell you now, the chiddush is that even though he's with the women, it's still oster. He doesn't have any kula, right? He can't say, I'm used to it, I'm okay with it, nothing will happen. No, even a guy who's always used to the women, you never know, he may cross the line, cross the boundary one day. So let's continue. Who are those people who deal with women? These professions, Kigonat Soyufim, the silversmith. What does he do? Jewelry for women. Okay, very nice. The Srikim are people who are basically, they comb in a very special way the fabrics, the clothes of the women. His umnus is to make the fabric of the dresses of the women nicer. He combs them and he changes the shape, whatever, in such a way that makes it much nicer. So they need him all the time for the fashion. The nekurois, a person who cleans. What does he clean? He's a rechaim cleaner. Yeah, he has basically the profession of cleaning and picking the dirt from the hand rechaim. Rechaim is a millstone. Some millstones are big and they're not for home usage, but some of them are small and women use them. Yeah, it's like for your own personal small rechaim. And the person who cleans them, the women basically it's a guy that the women bring their appliances to him all the time. The roichlin here does not mean any peddler. Roichlin means a person who is a peddler for women's cosmetics. He goes from town to town and he sells the cosmetics, which, by the way, it's interesting because this is a takana from Ezra. Ezra Soifer said that roichlim should go around everywhere in order to make sure that there are people who sell cosmetics for women, so they should look beautiful in the eyes of the husbands. But I guess the people who do it are at a higher risk of being too friendly with women. The gardim is a weaver. He weaves the clothes of the women. The asapolim, the barbers, we're not talking about a barber for women. Such things were not even heard of back then, and it shouldn't be. Asapolim means he's a barber of children and men, and the women bring their children to the sapal. They bring the children to the barber shop like today, and they get too friendly with the barber. They are koivsim. A koivsim are the washermen, the people who wash the clothes of who? Of the women. The agara. Gara we're going to discuss at length. Agara is a bloodletter. Yeah, she goes to him like a doctor. She goes to him and he treats her, and it can end up not so nicely. The habalan is a mikveh attendant. Yeah, he's not the one. He doesn't watch the women in the mikveh, but Lamais is the one who warms the water. He heats up the water of the mikveh. So he's outside. He starts chatting. Too friendly. The a bursaki is a person who deals with leather. He's a tanner. So that person, yeah, all these people, they are not exactly always kosher because they tend to, yeah, there's this codependency between them and the women, and therefore halacha may be different regarding them. Now, ein ma'amidin mehem. Now, another halacha not to do with women, but to do with those professions. Ein ma'amidin mehem loy melech v'lo kohen gadol. When you appoint a king, don't appoint a king somebody whose profession was that. Let's say if somebody of the Davidic dynasty, and he was a washer, he was a tanner, he was a barber, he was a roichel cosmetics seller, or kohen gadol, he was a kohen who used to work. Don't appoint him to be the high kohen. Why not? My time. Lo mishum de psili. We don't think that they're that bad that they're possible because of Rosha. We don't say that. No. Ella, we don't say they're disqualified be'etzem. Ella mishum dizil umnusayu. This kind of profession is considered in the eyes of people as zol, cheap. It's considered as some kind of low profession, and therefore such a profession, people would not respect a melech, a king, whose resume says, I was a barber between 2000 2023, now I'm a melech. Yeah, they won't respect that. It's not respectable, and it says, soim tosim olecha melech. And the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, shete imoso olecha. You have to respect and have fear of the king. The guy who yesterday did your son's, haircut, or he did your wife's jewelry, you don't give him tons of respect, and therefore, he should not be elected or appointed to be a melech. It's interesting what you're saying, that shepherd is not mentioned. David HaMelech was a shepherd. Those shepherds are also troublemakers usually because they're not careful with gezel. It's a good point. Point taken. They're all shepherds. They were kosher. Yeah. They're all shepherds, and it's true. Although, okay, they were very careful. I know. They were all careful not to steal from other people's fields. The roy is not mentioned here, by the way. The shepherd is not mentioned as someone who can be a king. So l'chor they can be. Although we mentioned before that it's not good to teach a child to be a shepherd, because many of them are Ganovim. But okay, except for David HaMelech and a few and far between. Tono Abonon. Here, it's a good point. Tono Abonon. Another brisa. Asor dvorim nemu begara. Before we continue, before I forget to go on, the Ritva makes a very, very nice connection between the previous sugya and this sugya. What did you speak about before? Yichud. What was the very last thing we said about Yichud before the Mishnah? About to get service from a woman. What did I tell you? The Gemara says, L'shem Shamayim. If you know that you get service from a woman, and it's really L'shem Shamayim, you have no inyan, you're not going to look at her, you're not going to get too friendly with her. Stam, a waitress serves you, a stewardess. Oh, so what's the way? I said, and the Ritva says that, every person has to know himself. You have to be honest with yourself. The service I'm getting, is it really something cold and impersonal? She's serving me the wine, she's serving me the towel, or is it something a little bit more interesting and a little bit Yitzhar? So the Ritva says it not in the same words. And what does the Ritva say? What's the way to really know that you're doing the right thing? What's the way? I'll bring in the Rambam also together with the Ritva. What's the way to get away from Arias, this tremendous Yitzhara? By immersing yourself in Torah. That's what the next Mishnah says. Yeah, don't teach your son Torah or teach your son the kind of umnus that's not with women. Teach your son, do what's necessary not to be involved with women, but being more involved with Torah and have your mind set in the right way. Rabbi Noroi says the best umnus and oilom in the world is Torah, right? Or umnus nekiya v'kala, that kind of profession that allows you, gives you more time to learn. Yeah, don't go into this. Don't dafka become a doctor who's in the emergency room 20 hours a day. No, become something less profitable, maybe, who leaves you enough time to learn, to connect with Hashem, right? And then what about the parnoso? Don't you have the top job? Hashem will give you the parnoso. Yeah. Let me before we continue. The way I understand it, nobody says you're not allowed to be a weaver, you're not allowed to be a barber, or even cosmetic sellers encouraged. If you are one, you have to be more careful. You have to be more aware. I am working with women. I have more gedorim. I don't remember stories, but there are stories like that. There were big tzaddikim that had like a grocery store. They were even more careful with women, or people who teach women. They're not just they're careful to be even more distant from them than the other men because they're surrounded by them all the time. That's the way to do it. Okay, weiter. Let's continue. Okay, now let's talk more about the gara. Gara is basically a person who's the bloodletter. Why is it called gara? Ligroa is to take away. He's the person who takes away the blood. And by the way, bloodletting works today also. I did some bloodletting and really helped me. You can laugh, but it works. Yeah, what Chachamim said still works today. In my humble opinion, there is such a thing today to bloodletting, but we'll continue with that. There are 10 things were said about a gara, about the bloodletter. Mehalech al tzidoi, he walks in a way, is a very arrogant person, very haughty. In other words, Mehalech al tzido, he walks sidewise or walks very upright. The way he walks like to the side. He doesn't walk in a humble way. His gait is very arrogant. Berucho gasa, and his spirit is very gaivadik, very arrogant. Venitla v'yoishev. In other words, when he sits down, he doesn't sit down normal. He sits like on the side, like that, or like that, or like that. The way he sits, his body language shows, I'm the king of the world. Why is that? Because everyone needs him. Basically, back then, a bloodletter would be today's brain surgeon, cosmetic surgeon, the top one. He knows everybody needs me, and I'm the top doctor. Therefore, I'm the king of the world. Yeah. So his behavior, his demeanor is very haughty. The Einoi Tzoro, and he's also Einoi Tzoro. He has this. He's a miser, bekitzer, because he's used to eating a lot. Yeah. Rashi says like this: this person usually people give him food before the treatment. The way they used to do it, he would come to your house and you'd give him a nice meal. So although he's rich, he's not used to spending money because he's used to eating on the expense of others. So when he does have to spend the money, he's not used to it. He doesn't know how to put his hand into his pocket. It's hard for him, this motion. The Einoi Ro, and also as Ein Ro, he actually has consciously or subconsciously, he puts Ein Hora in people so they should need him. He's interested in people being sick in order that he should have parnasa. Okay, v'oichel harbe, he eats a lot because obviously he eats with many people every day. He eats a lot because everyone gives him nice food wherever he comes to. Umoitzikima, when it comes to toilet, he doesn't have much toilet because it's healthy food. He eats good food that doesn't produce a lot of dirt. So women need him. Not only women, that's true, but they need him, says Rashi. When women need a person, it's very true. We see it today. All the horror stories like Chaim Balder and all these, it's a person who felt very arrogant, and then other people needed him, so he felt superior. The Gemara says, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, whoever is a gaivadik, whoever is gaiva, will be nichshal with eshes ish. A person who thinks I'm the king of the world, he has no boundaries. He feels I can take anyone else's wife. The ala gezel, he's also suspected on gezel. Listen to this, unbelievable. Rashi says, Noshim goizlos mi baleim v'nois nesloi. Rashi at the end of the page. Women take money from their husbands and give him behind the husband's back. The women are so on his side. Mr. Doctor is my guy. Wow, they steal from the husband and give him, and he takes it from them. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, he takes too much blood, says Rashi, and therefore that's a problem. Yeah, and he's not doing the job right, and he may kill people by mistake, or yeah, he doesn't care. So Bekitzer, the Gara, the bloodletter, has his disadvantages. Again, Ellen, I would say if a person wants to choose the profession of a Gara, he should be aware not to fall into that pit. Yeah, like they tell you, if you want to work in this and that company, you have to be very, very careful not to do this, that, and the other. I think that would be a constructive way to look at this tomorrow. Maybe. A what? What's phlebotomist? Really? Okay. Phlebotomist. Good to know. Okay, wow. I learned a new word. Weiter. Vampires.
Vampires.
Weiter. Dorosh Bar Kaporo. Bar Kaporo, yeah, gives us a drosha. As we said in the Mishnah, by the way, according to some Rishonim, Nekia Vekala, Nekia means Nekia from Gezel. Nekia means a kind of umnus where you know that it's not likely that you're dishonest. As we said, some professions, it's more likely you'll be dishonest, like if you travel around or you're chenveni, it's very tempting to play with the weights or so. Yeah, so umnus Nekia Vekala either means kapshuto, clean and easy, or it means clean from Gzela. Maihi, what kind? Give an example for a good umnus that's good for you to teach your son. Omar of Yuda says of Yuda, machta de talmiusa. Machta de talmiusa, the machat, the needle of talmai, basically means embroidery. Yeah, embroidery. He works as a person who does embroidery. We think it's a feminine thing, apparently not. So you have the embroidery, and that's the way that you make umnus nekeva kala. Basically, you sit the whole day, a few hours, you do the embroidery, 1, 2, 3, close embroidery, you go sit in koilel for the other half of the day without much dealings with people. I guess women don't need them as much. Maybe he's not doing embroidery for women's clothes, maybe for the Sefer Torah. I don't know, but that's called umnus nekeva kala. Anya. Rabbi Omer says, Rabbi, more about what kind of job you should choose. Yeah? Okay. By the way, the Aruch says, Nekia from Gezel, and Kala, there's no Chesron and Kiss. There's not much loss there. You don't have to invest much. In other words, they're telling you, as I saw in the Mefoshim, don't invest too much in your professional life. Your main investment should be in Torah. The job should be your side thing. The main thing should be Torah. That's the idea. And that's the only way to get away from Arias, from all these Averas. Tanya, Rabbi Omer, Rabbi says, there's no umnus that actually is canceled from the world. In other words, the job will always stay there. At all these jobs, somebody will do the job. If it's not you or your son, then another guy will learn it. Yeah. In other words, don't say my son should be a doctor, because otherwise there won't be any doctors in the world. That's not true. That's not a reason. People say, oh, if you're not going to have the doctor, if your son won't be the doctor, who will be a doctor? Somebody else will be. Don't worry about the global peace and development and prosperity. That's not your business. You have to do what's good for you, spiritually speaking. So therefore, yeah, how good is it for a person who sees his parents working with a good profession, with a respectable profession, right? Says Rashi, Yoldov ves Yolodov, both his parents and his children. And how bad is it for a person to see his parents working in a degrading kind of unus? Yeah, the children of a street cleaner or toilet cleaner, no, they don't feel as good as the children of somebody who is an embroiderer guy, let's say, who's a nicer profession. The world would always need, the world cannot exist without the basam, the perfume guy, the guy who sells or produces the perfumes, the moicher b'somi, bursaki, a tanner, they would always, excuse my language, stink. They would always smell bad. A bursaki is a person who's, from some reason, tanning the leather is very smelly. So there will always be people who will be working with something that smells nice or something that smells bad. Good, how good it is for the person who's basam, and how bad it is to be a bursaki. Let me explain something else, something on the more spiritual side. That idea so far, even a guy can understand that it's nicer to work in a nicer profession. But there's a bigger hashkafic concept over here mentioned by the Chovis Levovis and by many others. If a person works and he hates his job, I can't take standing in this horrible verstunkene Bursaki factory. Why are you here? Because I need the money. I need to put bread on the table. That is, ooh, you know what it is? I'm going to say a strong word now. I'm not saying it. Assorted in many forms. It's Poshet Kfira, Poshet heresy. Because you think that your job brings you the money. Well, that's not true. Hashem brings you the money through a job, and Hashem can bring you the money through other ways. You have to do your shtadlus. Many Rishonim say, even here the Marsha, you have to get a job to do your shtadlus. But shtadlus that's against your personality, against who you are, then you are really not interested. You're only doing it because you don't believe any other profession can bring you the money. So you don't really believe Hashem brings you the money. You say it because you're from. You don't really believe in it. You're a hypocrite. And therefore, when you work in something that's not enjoyable for you, that's also. You have to find a job that is satisfying and it's something that you like to do, or at least you don't hate doing. You're okay with it. But if you work in something that you hate doing, that's a huge hashkafic problem. And that is the message over here. If you like to be a bursaki, you like the smell of the fish store, the gas station, great, amazing. But if you don't, and you're only there for the money, that's huge lack of bitochen. Continues the Gemara, the Braisa. The world needs both male and female. How good it is to the one whose children are male, and how bad it is for the one whose children are all nekevos. Why is that? Why is it bad that your girls are nekevos? Because they won't continue away. They're going to fly away to the husbands once they get married. All the inheritance, everything goes over there. The whole business, the whole name, the whole importance, they go and they leave your nest and you don't have continuity when you have girls. And that's why, although you need boys and girls, naturally people prefer boys because they continue their name in the world. Okay, weiter. What? Oh, it's true that halachically you have to have a boy and a girl. That's true. Very nice. He says, Asha, true, you have to have at least one of each. But people naturally like the boys because they continue their way. Yeah, true. Ashrei, that's true. Yeah. Ashrei means enochanami. It's better. It doesn't mean that you should do anything about it. The chant that the girls leave the nest is not the invention. I don't remember who says it, but I saw it last time I learned it. Okay, so now we're going to hear another pshat. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So you just quoted me a Meiri. That's very interesting. That the reason why people are the advantage of boys over girls is that girls have a huge issue of tznius, and it's a constant worry for the father that the girls would dress tanua, and if the girl goes chalila and she starts being lo tanua, also in her actions, much worse. Absolutely. In other words, and that is in other words, the daughter is always an issue of tznius. Let's say a boy and a girl both. If they start Chalila going off the derech. So, but the boy, there's an issue of Shabbos and kashrus and this, and the girl is Shabbos and tznius. It's always an added factor, which is very, very worrying for the parents. Absolutely, resonates. Absolutely true. Okay, Rabbi Meir Omer, thank you for letting us know. Rabbi Meir Omer, as we said, always teach your son in umnus that does not require too much attention, too much investment. So his work does not become his life. Yet workaholic is not a good word in Yiddishkeit. If I'm not going to have the top job, I'm not going to have money. Ask Hashem. The biggest banker, the biggest boss is up there. Yeah, he has the oisher, the wealth, and all the assets. Yeah, poverty does not come as a result of umnus of profession. Yeah, rich, in other words, wealth doesn't come from work either. Yeah, it only comes from the one who's the owner of all richness and all wealth in the world, is Hashem. Shenemar, as it says, Li hakesef, the Li hazov neum Hashem. The gold is mine, the silver is mine, and the gold is mine, said Hashem. That's a pasuk in Chagai. Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar is making this analogy between animals and people, and basically we're not going to repeat it because the Brisa elaborates even more. Tanya, everything will be explained. It says in the Brisa, Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar Omer, Miyome lo roisi tzvi kayatz. I never saw a deer who works as a kayatz, as a person who dries out the figs in the field. Never saw that. Yeah, the Ari Sabal. I never saw a lion who works as a porter. Yeah, as a schlepper. The Shual Chenveni. I never saw a Shual. Yeah, a fox who works as a Chenveni as a shopkeeper. It wouldn't be good because a Shual is known to be what? A fox is known to be very sly. So the Shual and Chenveni, they work together. Yeah, I've never seen that. Then Mispanisim Shalom Betzar. Look, these animals have parnosa, not so much Betzar. They don't have to go to work and click in the number and be nice to the boss and work with the computer 10 hours a day. And they have their lives relatively easy. They were created only to serve me. And yet, I, the human being, I'm higher than them in the totem pole of the work, right? I'm higher than them in the hierarchy. I'm supposed to serve Hashem directly. They're serving me, and I'm serving Hashem. So, what sense does it make? The system doesn't make sense. Those animals are only here in order to serve me, and their parnasa is so easy, nice and easy and clean. They have to just chase the antelope and they eat the antelope and finished. I was created to serve Hashem. Wouldn't it make sense that I should also have parnasa lo b'tzar? I want to live like a fox, just hop here and there, all kinds of animals and eat them and finished. Ella, you know why? Because my deeds are bad. As I said yesterday, what's Arioses Masai? My maisim both globally. In other words, human beings in general all come from the first man, from Adam and Eve. Adam was mereais maisim, and so do we. As long as we didn't bring Mashiach, we're still sinning in the same sin of Adam Arishon. You're complaining when you have to go to work. It's your fault. It's our fault as human beings. We messed up. The kipachtis parnososi. Because of that, we've cut off the sinner of parnoso. Shenemar v'nosechem hitu. Yeah, your avonos, your sins hitu. They inclined. Your avonos are the things that basically tilted their scale the wrong way. Avonosechem hitu ele. The chatoisechim monu hatoiv mikem, says Yirmiyahu. Your sins monea. Your sins basically are blocking away, are avoiding, evading the good from coming. They're stopping the good from coming, which means if a person does tshuva and a person connects to Hashem and puts his entire bitochen on Hashem, then Hashem will take care of him. As we see all the time, we see it all the time in Kodesh life. Hashem does nisim time and again every day. A person who trusts Hashem, Hashem helps him. I want to point out something, B'Shem the Maharsha. Many people suffer always. It's not so black and white. It's true. And as I said, I know lawyers who didn't have what to eat, 3 people like that, 2 men and 1 woman. And the Avrechim who have money. Of course, Derech HaTeva, an Avrech would have less money than a lawyer in general, obviously, because we do live by Teva also. But what he's saying is when you choose your profession, don't live by the rule. If I work harder, then I'll be a millionaire, and otherwise no. No, there are many exceptions to the rule. The more you have bitochen, a person with givens ABC, and the other one the same givens ABC, one has bitochen, one wouldn't have bitochen, the person with bitochen would make more money. Again, there are many other factors. Maybe the person is a big sinner in other areas, and that's why he doesn't have money. Maybe he steps on the perurim. You know that if you step on crumbs, you can become poor. If you're not careful until it's Yadayim, you can become poor. Right? We saw it recently in Shabbos. So therefore, what? The other factors too. There are many factors. In general, what we're coming to say is don't live by that, tevadi kathot, the goyish thought, more work means more money. No, you can work all day long, and all of a sudden you have a huge leak in the house. You have a huge expense, unexpected. Hashem runs the whole show. That's the basic idea here. And we see we live by that. Maybe we should leave that for the siyum. Yeah, I would leave that for the siyum, and I trust people on YouTube and Torah anytime to figure that by themselves. It's a very easy Gemara. Okay, we'll leave that for the siyum, and now we'll start the Shulchan Aruch. Okay. Before we start this shiur within shiur of Hilchos Yichud, let's remember a few factors that we spoke about, in the Gemara. Certain things we remember from the Gemara. So remember, there was a rule at the beginning of the Mishnah that said one man with two women is not allowed. One woman with two men is allowed. Okay. On the other hand, we saw afterwards a story with Rav and Rabbi Yehuda. They were walking and they found themselves in a situation of yichud with a woman. She was walking with them all of a sudden, and Rav told Rabbi Yehuda, "Yeah, speed up, get away from Gehenna." And the question was, why is that Gehenna? Two men and one woman is okay, and they're kosher men. They said, no, well, it's only by kosher men, but prutzim, men that are parutz, that are not kosher, you can't have yichud. And Rav and Rabbi Yehuda suspected that they're not kosher. What? They thought you have to be super, super duper kosher, like the people jumped out the window, like Rav Amram, like those. So that's an interesting story we have to remember. Another factor is, if you remember, we had this very mysterious business with the men and women, one in one room, one in the other room. And it came out very strange. It came out, you can't have men in one room and women in the other room, whichever way, inner or outer. So what would you have? You can't have a separate simcha. Even that's not allowed. Where's the limit, right? Okay. So with these questions in mind, we're going to start from the beginning, and hopefully, I hope to get to the end today. Not all of the halachas, but we're going to resolve these questions later. Says the Shulchan Aruch, starting with the concept of yichud to begin with, the basis of yichud. Also, a person is not allowed to have yichud with any erva me'arayis, which means any woman that midorayis you can't have relations with, married woman, your sister-in-law, your other type of sister-in-law, your mother-in-law, your daughter-in-law, all these you can't have yichud. Pain, whether Zakena ben Yalda, even if she is old, it could be very old, or Yalda. What's Yalda? What's the minimum age for yichud for a girl? 3 years old. The age of 3, there's bia. Nobody says that most people are not attracted to 3 years old. There is bia. She's a balas bia. That's where we draw the line. Because that behavior of having yichud causes the person to, it can bring to gilo erayis chutz, except for ma'em imbna, mother and son. How do we know that? Because the whole source of yichud was kiasitcho achicho ben imecho. The Torah is hinting to us, saying, mother and son live together, as opposed to others who don't. So mother and son, there's no yetzer hara. They can live together forever after. Hopefully you'll find the shidduch. The avim bitoy and father and daughter is the same relationship. Wait a second. What about the sister? So the sister is allowed, but not to live together over a month. To live together, the Shulchan Aruch is omitting it, because a sister is a question. You can have yichud with your sister, not on a regular basis, but to live with a sister over a period of time, that is already a shaila, because although they blinded the eyes of the yetzer hara, right? But for the sister, it helps, but there could be something between brother and sister, so therefore the kula is not 100%. Who else can have yichud? We didn't see that in the Gemara, but we're going through. The abalim ishtoi nida. That's another one. A man and a husband and wife, she's nida. Sometimes people can be nida for more than 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. How are they allowed to be together? If he has relations with her, they both get chorus. It's as bad as a sister, as anything. But why do we allow that? Because we say pas besaloi, because he's been with her once in a mutter way, and she's allowed to him. She was with him, and she will be with him in 2 weeks or so. That's why we say it's okay. Because it's only temporary. The shenken fish is much more alluring. Here's your neighbor, which maybe had ideas about, and they're alone in the room. No. Yitzhar is stronger. The choson, shapirsa, I don't know if that's so important for now. I would skip that. It's very interesting, but it's not so much to get to our sugya. I'm skipping this on purpose because we're a tiny bit short of time. I want to stress more the other points of our sugya. The next piece has nothing to do so much with our sugya, and therefore let's continue. Base, halacha base. By the way, I want to give more introduction. What the meforshim here, the Nosei Kelim mentioned, the fact is yichud doraisa or dorabanan. I kept telling you yichud of eshes ish, and the other arais is doraisa. That's true according to Tosfos in Shabbos and the Rosh. The Rambam holds it's not exactly doraisa because it's only hinted from the Torah, right? It's only a hint. Therefore, we say that it's like the Rabbanon. It's a level of the Rabbanon, and therefore don't get Malkus, only get Malkus Mardus. Continues halacha base more about the history of yichud. Shiurim ma'ase Amnon v'Tomo. When the story of Amnon v'Tomo, basically a half brother who raped his half sister, Gozel David Bezdina Yichud Pnuya. David and his Bezdin saw that this is bad. He asked her, make me some latkes, basically some fried food, and it led to something bad. So they made a gzera on the yichud of a single girl also, and that's clearly the Rabbanon. A man with a single girl's the Rabbanon, it's not as bad. Let's say the single girl, she went to mikveh for whichever reason. Yeah, the Isser is not as bad as Eshes is, for sure not. But the Gzera is, don't do that either. It's still called Znus. The Afal Bishena Erva. Yeah, although she's not an Erva, she's not your sister, she's a foreign girl, and she's Tahar, still, Bechlal Yichud Arayasi. They still include that situation as an Erva. That's number two. Now, Goite, a non-Jewish woman, up until then was okay. It was okay to have Yichud with Miss or Mrs. Mackenzie. What happens next? Why? You know why? The Meforshim say because she's definitely not your Erva. A regular single girl, if you misyached with her, you may come to do Yichud with your own sister-in-law or mother-in-law or daughter-in-law, but a Goite will never be related to you halachically. But then comes the third base of the Gzera, Shama and Hillel. I told the Beis Chashmonoi, and it's true, it's the same time, Shama and Hillel, this Bais Sheni. During Bais Sheni, Shama and Hillel, before Korban Abayit, at the times of the Chashmonoim, Gozro al Yichud Goya. They made a Gzera also not to have Yichud with a non-Jewish woman. Nimtza. So at the end of the day, we're done with a history class. What comes Lamaskana? Kol Misyachedim Isha. Also ima, right? Whoever has yichud with a woman that is forbidden for him, and that's everybody, ben Israelis, ben Goya, Jewish or non-Jewish, makin is shnei makas mardus, aish va'isha. Shulchan Aruch here is very loyal to the Rambam, who holds that this is the Rabbanon. It's a strong Rabbanon hinted in the Torah, but it's a Rabbanon, and therefore the punishment is mardus. Makas mardus is the punishment you give for a Rabbanon. Haish va'isha, both parties, ish va'isha, yeah. Umachrizin aleiha or aleihem. There's also a girsa. Oh, remember? Oh, that's another point which we saw in our sugya. Remember, we said this is something important. Remember, there was who was it? Ravacha. There was an Amoira who, whenever he would give malchus to a woman and a man that would sin, not even do the ma'aser, they would be together in the room. What would he say? He's machriz that the woman didn't have relations with the man. We only saw the yichud. Because if you don't announce that she is kosher, people will think your children are mamzerim, right? Remember that? But the Rambam doesn't learn like that. The Rambam says machrizin is a negative thing. You machriz and you put them to shame. You tell everybody this man and this woman, they had yichud. So people should know. The Rambam takes it in a stricter way. You do the malchus, midorabanon, the mardus, and also you machriz on both. There's a girsa aleh or aleihem. You machriz aleihem, both of them. According to Rashi and other Rishonim, machrizin aleha means what? You machriz that although she got the malchus, but she's kosher. I mean, she's a naughty girl that she had yichud, but don't think she was really with him in tashmish, because we don't want the children to be called mamzerim. Okay? I'm skipping to the Shulchan Aruch, because again, this is not so much in our sugya. Yeah. Right. Chutz continues the mechaber. I'm skipping the Ramah because it's not our sugya. Chutz meishes ish. Oh, now comes the mechaber and says eishes ish. What's the story with eishes ish? She'afal pishosu lisyached ima im nisyached en loikin shelolot zilazal le'ashazim tavnim tumot zilazal b'neshem mamzerim. Which means the Shulchan Aruch, following the Rambam, does believe that although the word machrizin meant what I said, naughty boy, naughty girl, and everybody should know about it. That is only true if she's a single girl. Yeah, single girl, or either stam single or sister-in-law, which is much worse. Yeah, but if the man and the woman, she's an Ashes ish, then both of them don't get malchus at all. Why? Because if they get the malchus, people would get the wrong message. They say, you know why Prince Abela got malchus with Chaim Yankel? Because they had yichud, and then people would think that what happened to them, they had bia. And people would start saying the kids are mamzerim. The question is, why is he off the hook? Maybe she's off the hook. Why is he off the hook? He doesn't get malchus. That's a discussion. Yeah, the Bach says that maybe Enechanami he should get the malchus, only she shouldn't. Again, let's summarize. Shall I summarize, or you want to ask first? Again, one second. According to I'll listen to you. So I promise I'll listen to you. Again, according to Shulchan Aruch, if a man and a single girl had yichud, there's no mamzeros anyways, because even if she had kids, even if she had kids with him, it's not mamzerim. A child outside marriage is not a mamzer, and therefore, if she's not an erva, stam a regular girl, then you do the malchus, and machrizin, according to the Rambam, is a bad thing. Your machriz, that man and that girl, that single girl, they had yichud, and even if she's pregnant, okay, it's not mamzeres. But shaken eshes ish, we said we follow the more lenient opinion that none of them gets malchus. Why? Because if you give them malchus, people would think, oh, they got malchus, they had yichud. Who knows what else they did there? That's the first thing that comes to mind. Then people think that her kinderlach in her next pregnancy, which could be from her husband, and could be that she just spoke to him about the situation in the stock exchange in the NASDAQ. They didn't touch each other. That could be. She spoke to him about soccer, about football, about Chelsea. That's what they spoke about. They didn't have any yichu, any bia. And people will think that they do, they don't give malchus. There was a middle of the road solution in the Gemara to give malchus, right? And be machriz that it wasn't that. The Rambam doesn't accept it. The Shulchan Aruch. Yeah, go ahead. What did you want to ask? Okay. Fine. So what are you asking? From Yichud they're off, not from Tashmi. Yichud. No. A woman who knows a Tashmi, she has to divorce her husband. Yeah. Weiter. Yeah, good. Next, Gimel. Oh, call Isha Shosul Siachad Ima. Any woman you're allowed to have Yichud with. Imoisa Ishtoi Imoi. Oh, let's say the wife is with him. A man and a woman and his wife is in the room. His wife is going to guard him well. You don't look at her. Yeah. She's going to make sure that he doesn't do the wrong move, and therefore it's allowed. And the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch is very much like the Rambam, almost copy and paste. And the Rambam does not differentiate between a regular guy and a guy who works with women. According to the Rambam, that's a leniency. He doesn't believe that the guy who's around women all day is different. So anybody who has a wife around is okay, except for what we brought down from Avodah Zarah. Continue. A Jewish woman and a goy, that is not allowed. We saw that in Tosfos, imported from Avodah Zarah, I think second parak. Even though Mrs. Goy is with him, with them things are so bad or so parutz that you shouldn't trust it, and therefore Yichud applies there too. Weiter, Daled is not our sugya, but it's short and sweet, and it's Nogel Halacha, so I'm going to mention it, even though it's also imported from Avodah Zarah. And basically it says, Azoi, Ein Moislin Tinuk Yisrael Legoy, Lalamdu Sefer, Lalamdu Umnus. In other words, don't give your young son, who's a nice Jewish boy, to a Goyish private tutor. Yeah, you want to teach him violin, karate, all kinds of nice things, and the next thing is what? Sexual abuse or bad hashkafa. You think that's invented today? No, it always existed. The Gemara says in Avodah Zarah that first of all, the goy may have the wrong ideas about your son, and also the wrong ideas about hashkafa. You'll teach him Avodah Zarah. You'll teach him that Darwinism is the best thing ever. It is the absolute truth. Yeah, v'chule. And therefore, that's also, I would also recommend not to send him to Jewish people unless it's very, very trustworthy. Unfortunately, the situation today is very bad. Yeah, it's not simple to send to private tutors and swimming classes. You have to be very, very careful wherever you send your child. Tell your children to look after their grandchildren. Hey, now comes big news. Here comes our sugya. Lo tisyached isho achas afilu im Anoshim harbe. Wow, did you see that? One woman should not have yichud with many men. What? Let's stop right there. That's not what I learned the entire time. We've been learning this for half a week, and now the Shulchan Aruch is turning his back on us. One woman with many men. It doesn't say that they're poruts or goyim or they work in cosmetics. It says one woman cannot have yichud with 10 avrechim. Avrechi koilel, frumest guys from Bnei Brak. What did I tell you? Rambam. Rambam took the story of Rav and Rabbi Yehuda, not as interesting fable from the Talmud. It's la halacha. If Rav and Rabbi Yehuda said that we don't know if we're kosher enough, says Rambam Shulchan Aruch, well, I don't know if I'm kosher enough. In other words, the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch, following him, they believe that since that story told us, I don't know who's kosher, was not kosher, no man can trust his Yetzer Hara, even in the presence of another man. Therefore, according to the Rambam, that heter went down the drain. And therefore, even one woman with many men cannot have yichud because we don't know what's going to happen with them. Even if they're kosher, of course, conceptually kosher is okay. but we don't know who is kosher. Nobody can, because we saw the Gemara gave unbelievably abnormal standards, and that's what the Rambam believes, right? So what's the solution? So that woman has to have a meeting with 10 Avrechim. She's a finance consultant, and she needs to meet 10 Rosh Koilel. Yeah, what will she do? That's a solution. The wife of one of them has to be there. She's meeting 10 men. When the men are alone with the woman, they could be with the biggest black hat. But if the wife is there, she'll make sure that that financial consultant doesn't start with her husband and at the same time with anybody else. And similarly, and that's not a chiddush, against Rashi. This is a Rambam and Tosfos against Rashi. All our sugyas coming back to life. One man can't have yichud even with many women, according to Rambam and Tosfos. Yeah, one man and many girls. Not even a guy. Not only a guy who works in with women's business, with feminine business. That's the strictest opinion, and that's Rambam and Shulchan Aruch. And I guess Sfardim have to follow that. Rabbeinu, but the Ramah is more lenient. Here we have to see the Ramah. Says the Ramah, no. The Ramah says, you Rambam, you accumulate all the chumras. I don't go with that, says the Ramah. The Yeshoimrim, Ramah is Ashkenazi. Here comes Ashkenazi opinion. The Isha Achas Misyechedes im Shnei Anoshim Ksherim. Ramah says, no, that story was a very inspirational story, and we should learn to be careful. But Lamaisa, that halacha Lamaisa, one woman may have yichud with two kosher men, regular kosher men who keep mitzvahs. They don't have to be sitting learning all day long. He's known to be a normal guy who doesn't watch TV, as far as we know. He doesn't watch schmutz in the internet, as far as we know. He's okay guy. He keeps Torah mitzvahs like everybody else. He's assumed to be kosher. So one woman with two men is okay, according to the Ramah, providing, again, this is all the Gemara coming to life. Imu ba'ir. Right? Only if it's in town. What happens if it's out of town? No. How many do you need? Dry. Why? Because one of them may go to toilet, and therefore she'll be staying with only, right? With only one man. If there are only two, then one will go to the LOO, and the other one will stay with her one-on-one. One-on-one, a lot of things can happen while he's in the toilet. He's taking his time, And therefore, in the derech, it should be 3 kosher people. 1 second, please. I'll be with you in a second. The stam anoshim ksherim hem. Regular people are kosher. We don't know. Maybe the guy has a smartphone and he watches schmutz the whole night. I don't know. There are such people, they say, I don't know. No, a stam person who seems to be a kosher Jew, a frum Jew, is kosher. Sadly, and as I said, Chilonim are lovely people sometimes, and we love them, we want to be mikar of them, and I grew up amongst them, but they are not kosher. Sadly enough, the matzav today in the non-frum, non-Jewish world is orgies. There's no end rule, and therefore, if your wife, and therefore, if your wife has to meet 3 or 4 Chilonim, it's a problem. She has to do something about it. Leave the door open. Leave the door open. Bring another woman with her. That could be already good. Maybe that's another shaila. We're not going there, or you come along with her to the meeting. But to meet a few Chilonim, she goes to Tel Aviv to an important business meeting. It's nicht pashut. In workplaces, there are a lot of questions in Yichud. Yeah, she's a female lawyer working. Everybody else in the law firm are Chilonim men. It's a big problem. Things do happen. They do happen, and you have to be careful. Give me a second. You're being very nice and patient. Yeah, I'll hear your question very soon. About this is just basically Ramah says what I said. Avrim and pritzim. If those men are porets and not kosher people, they're not kosher. Oh, by the way, there's a question. What's pritzim? What about a person who doesn't keep Shabbos or kosher so much, but he's known to be a good family man? He's not known to be porets in znus. In that area, he's known to be a good guy, but in other areas, he's not kosher. That's a question. Yeah. Ima pritzim afilim asara osur. With 10 people, or let's say Chiloni, very, hefkerdik, very liberal people, even 10 is osur, because they're ba'ir. As we said, it's only in town. Aval besode o balayla. Remember, nighttime is worse than daytime. When you go to sleep, nice, quiet, that kind of atmosphere. So if you go to sleep, 1 woman and 2 men, even if they're kosher, not good. No, it's like being in the field. Afilu ba'ir beinan shloisha. You need 3 people. Afilu b'ksherim, even if they're kosher. The yesh matirin. Now we're going to bring the third opinion, which is Rashi. The yesh matirin ish echad im noshim harbe imen isko im anoshim. That's Rashi. Rashi is chumra and kula. 1 man with many women, according to Rashi, is okay. Rashi says 1 man, 2 women, treif. 1 man, that's nogal alocha. I had the question. I taught a class of very, very nice kosher tsanua girls. I have nothing to do with them except for teaching them. Yeah. So one man with three women, according to Rashi, is okay, three or above. But if the person is a guy who's always used to women, he works with women all day long, is a cosmetician or these things, then it's a problem, even with many women. Yeah, that's Rashi, and the Ramah brings that down. As far as I know, Aloha today, they're more noted to be machmir one man with a few women. Yes, I'm listening to you, Rabbeinu Peretz. Yeah. Okay. Oh, now we have. Oh, now we came to the main point. Don't go. Don't go. Now we came to the main, to the cream, to the cherry on top. The mysterious case of many women in one room, many men in the other room. That's not allowed. Can go to chasana. So what is allowed? Yeah. Where's the limit? Excuse me. Says the Mishnah. Excuse me. Says the Shulchan Aruch. Now the cat's out of the bag. Noshim harbe ima noshim harbe en choshishin leichud. Funnily enough, if the room is mixed, it's a mixed room, men and women together. You're together in a mixed event. I'm not going to the questions of mixed event. A mixed room. I don't know, train station, whatever, whatever. Train station, not yichud. When I say many men and many women, there's no chash yichud. Yeah, without even sharing prutzim. Yeah, even all the horror stories of a porutz or what, a one who works with women. That's one person of one gender with many of the other gender. That's a tension, right? That's tension. It's true. Many women. There's one man in the room. There's many men, one woman in the room. Then it's a shaila, yeah, different shittas. Many men and many women, middle of the day, they're dressed, there's no chashash. However, two adjacent rooms, and the maskana was, I don't care who goes out to the street through where. Both cases are a problem. What do you mean a problem? Now the final answer. That's the name of the game. As long as both genders, each one stays in his room, givaldig, chasana, shul, event, all nice. Once one item, one person from one gender cross the border to the other group, then it's a problem of yichud. What's the chiddush? Now, very nice. The Rambam is now celebrating. You see, I was right, says the Rambam. What did the Rambam say all along? That one woman with many men, biggest tzaddikim for Bnei Brak, is not allowed. Says the Rambam. You see, I'm right. You see, one woman. We're not saying it's also to be in such a situation of men here, women there. We're saying that if the border was crossed, then there is a problem, even though there are many people. Says the Rambam. I'm right. You see, the one woman with many men, it's a Bnei Brak chazonish chasana, and one woman crossed the mechitza to the other side, and she sits there with a man. It's usher, right? Because nobody would have to go to the other side from the other men. That's sneaking in. All the other women are very frum. They want to dream of moving to the other room, and that's a chiddush. You don't have the security of having women in the other room. As long as one woman was player, she moved to the room of the men. It's also because one woman with many men, says the Rambam, is also there's a security of the other women in the other room. No, the other women are not necessarily going to go there. That's the chiddush. And even if you think they're on their way out, we're not samich on that. That was the chumrah. According to Rashi, what could we say? We can say maybe we're talking about men who work with women, or prutzim. It's an event of people lot tzanua. But here comes the main point. Here comes the real fun. The main point is I just want to read that and over and done with. Says the Bach like this. Because Cheshinan, maybe one of them will sneak into the other room. Ava, listen to human psychology. Says the Bach something else, something different, and that's another answer to this whole conundrum. He says as though when you have, to have separate men and women sometimes is worse than being mixed. Why? When you have separate men and separate women, and the man who is interested in the women, he knows everybody else in the chassan is so frum, they're not going to go there. He'll sneak in, right? And he's not supposed to be there, and he will be there. That tastes like forbidden, and nobody else is there to supervise. Masha'en ken, let's say there's a man with many women, according to those who allow, he teaches in seminary, that could be okay. Why? Because Yod'im du beinayim, We know he's supposed to be there. Everybody knows that Rabbi Chacharovsky is teaching Hilchas Chala in the seminary 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's official. If it's official, it's less dangerous. It's meant to be that way, so they guard each other. Yeah, it's not sneaking in. If he's not supposed to be there, precisely because of separate rooms, then when he does go there, it tastes more like the forbidden water. It's more chashash. Nobody would know. The Shenkin, if it's an official setting, here's a CEO of a company and all the women are the workers, or vice versa. That's an official meeting. They put a sign on the door. The CEO, Hershadovsky Berkowitz, is meeting with Miss. No problem. Yeah, because we know that that's the way it's supposed to be according to those Omekel. Ach, Mazel Tov. See you on Thursday. Atzlachu Bracha. May we always be Kedusha V'Tahara. Tomorrow, bring makot. Don't hit me, please. But please do bring your makis to shul, the volume. Atzlacha Uvracha. May we be Matzliach. Thank you very, very, very much. Koyach. And thank you for 1 second. Thank you to Torah Anytime and YouTube. We've had the entire Masechta Be'ezras Hashem on YouTube and Torah Anytime. Torah Anytime is the best. Thank you.